Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Porter Robinson record, Worlds. This guy is a North Carolina-based producer and songwriter who is dropping his full-length debut right here via ASTRALWERKSSSS this year. He has been making quite a bit of buzz with some of the singles to drop from this record so far, like Flicker and Sad Machine. He's been grabbing ears in the wider world of pop music, but already he's kind of made a name for himself in the EDM world. I know he's done a mix for UKF. He's also had the Spitfire EP that's dropped a few years ago, which was essentially an EP of electro house tunes, bro step. I thought Robinson's approach to these styles of electronic music was really epic. Like on the title track to this thing, there's this very refined building set of synth sequences that feel like they could come straight out of a soundtrack. And the song also features one of the most chaotic drops I've ever had the pleasure of laying ears on. With EDM at the top of mainstream music culture right now, I would figure that Porter Robinson could just continue in this lane, continue in this genre, and he would just gain fans as a result of naturally being involved in a style of music that's hot right now. But instead, he's decided to change up his musical style into something that I think has a bit more crossover appeal. Because on this LP, Robinson is essentially making indie-tronic music, glitch pop, dream pop, chillwave, maybe a little of that French electro house sound that was popular in the late 2000s thanks to Justice. This whole 2000s era of music actually seems to be incredibly important to Robinson's music. Just imagine the biggest names in these styles like Passion Pit and Crystal Castles, M83, Justice, The Naked and Famous, Postal Service and Owl City, Washed Out, Neon Indian, early MGMT. Imagine all of them, but with bombastic EDM-style drum timbres rocking behind them. That's what Porter Robinson does on this LP. It's not terrible, but it's not really exciting in concept to me, and it's not exciting in execution either. The idea of this album being mind-blowing is like watching someone lose their shit over store-brand cereal or soda. Yes, for sure. At the end of the day, some people might prefer Honey O's to Honey Nut Cheerios, but nobody's coming in saying, oh man, those Honey Nut O's, man, they're changing the game, man. However, I could definitely see this LP making waves in the EDM world because it presents a sound that is yet to cross over into that world. But for somebody who is a fan of a lot of the artists or have merely just experienced the artists that Robinson pulls from so obviously, this record isn't that thrilling to me. Because in my opinion, he doesn't really craft these influences into anything characteristically different. The glitchy swirls of synthesizers blah, 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 that occasionally pop up in these tracks feel like they could have come out of an early Crystal Castles track. The song Sad Machine or Divinity had these buzzing, loud synthesizer chords and bright, peppy melodies that could have come out of any number of Owl City or M83 tracks. The song Years of War has a bright, synthetic lead melody that could have come out of an early MGMT single, and on top of that, the song Lionhearted, in its verses and the vocals on these verses too, it actually sounds just like an early MGMT song. For me, this record is just a gauntlet of songs that sound a lot like other artists, with the exception of maybe the back end of the LP where you get songs like Sea of Voices, which is kind of a long, spacious interlude track with just a sea of synth layers on them, very ethereal. And then after this track, we get songs that have more of an overt EDM influence on them with those driving house beats. These tracks I actually like and don't quite mind. The final track on this LP is actually pretty gorgeous melodically, but leading up to that last leg of this album, the rest of this LP compositionally is pretty run-of-the-mill. However, that's not to say that it's inherently bad. I mean, Robinson seems to take quite a bit of care into recreating this stuff. The production is very crisp, it's lush, it's clean, the melodies pour through very brightly and are sticky and catchy. The songs, for the most part, all have a very nice pace to them, a very nice groove, very explosive, exuberant choruses. And overall, I do think it's a cohesive album with a pretty nice flow, with the more dynamic and gentle tracks toward the very end of the LP. It's not a record that really seems to be focused on its singles or focused on creating a series of singles. It has a nice conceptual flow to it. Robinson Robinson definitely grabs a sound or an idea and kind of runs with it. So I definitely give him kudos on trying to craft a holistic, ambitious record. And there are some whimsical melodies buried in the very loud EDM style production on this thing, even if they are a little smothered and mostly delivered with these very cutesy female Vocaloid vocals. So you're kind of getting this really cute baby pinch the cheeks of a robot kind of feel. And then there are tracks like Flicker, which have a very nice strong funk electro groove to them and a sort of dirty, grimy, distorted bass line. Directly after, there's Fresh Static Snow, which I think has an even more distorted bass line. And I love that Robinson can appropriately balance these distorted, harsh, heavy elements with some very beautiful melodies. The dude is definitely a capable producer, but I think his songwriting ideas just run really thin. Not only were they thin at the beginning of the album, where it was very apparent where all of them were coming from, but by the middle point of the album, it kind of gets old to hear all of these decent melodies and kind of cutesy vocals get buried underneath tons of distorted and overly compressed drums and synths. Not only that, but some of the tracks in the middle of this LP have these faux uplifting choruses that feel like they were just crafted to pander to a group of people who get their music recommendations from like Apple product commercials. So while no, this is not like a god-awful album or anything like that, I can't really say I'm enjoying it. Honestly, I enjoyed his last EP so much more, and I would have rather heard him follow through on that EDM style. I think he was so much closer to a distinct sound going in that direction. With that, it feels like on this record he's kind of hit the reset button, because now he just kind of sounds like any other artist toying with these sounds. For sure, yeah, his drums are louder, and he's using these Vocaloid vocals more than I think most artists do, playing with this style, but that's not really enough for me to celebrate it or bow to it or enjoy it. It's fine. If you're crazy about these styles of music more than I am, at least try it out. Robinson has been listening so closely that he has the technical side down, and like I said, it's not like he's doing these styles of music an injustice. It's just not anything incredibly exciting or refreshing to me in terms of the sound, the songwriting, which is why I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this thing. Transition, if you've given this record a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Porter Robinson, forever.